Hello, SpongicX here, and here's another episode of me playing Conkers Bad Fur Day. Here we are inside the infamous poo cabin level. Ugh. I honestly do not like this level. It's one of my least favorite parts of the game. Now, it's not to say that this part is, like, difficult per se, it's just that it's boring and repetitive. It's funny, though, I remember how as a little kid when I first played this, well, not a little kid, more like, teenager, but I remember when I first played this, it's like, I was kind of grossed out by it, but it's like I've played this game so many times that this honestly unhinges me now. It's like I'm just so used to seeing it, so it doesn't gross me out as much. But it helps that the graphics have aged a bit, but I mean the game still looks good overall. But it's like you're able to see how low poly it is, so it's not as gross as it used to be.
Hey, excuse me, hello? Yeah, you. Whoa. Friendly type. I'm looking for some poo. I know it sounds pretty strange, but...
I also felt like this scene in the game was just entirely pointless. Now, I'll admit some of the cutscenes with the bowl are funny, like this one right here.
I ate that. Go away.
Whoa. Take it, he doesn't like red. What? I don't see anything red around. Oh. Here we go again.
Now, this scene made a little more sense in this version. In the remake, they redesigned Conker to look a little more orange than red, so this scene felt a little more questionable, but it's still funny, though. But yeah, I just felt like this entire sequence was really pointless, though. Like, it's one thing to have the sequences where you had to roll the giant balls of poo, those were annoying enough, but did we really have to have a whole sequence where we had to fetch the poo in order to make the balls of poo? It's so stupid. Now, I get this was originally supposed to be a snow level when this game was supposed to be E-rated, but so they had to give it like a more dirty overhaul for an M-rated game, but still. I would have rather they just kept it as a snow level. So this part always kind of reminded me of Donkey Kong Arcade. Except a little shorter and easier. I like how in the Xbox version, if you actually get launched up to that roof, you can actually stay on top of it. It's kind of cool, but... Now, I'll admit, this was actually the first part of the game where I actually got stuck. I had no idea what to do during this part, so I looked it up online, and when I found out you just had to run around in circles on that, it's like, are you kidding me? And it's not the only time in the game where that happens, unfortunately. You have a situation like that in the next chapter.
Now, logic would denote that something that drinks that is gonna get the screaming squits. Ah, that looks distinctly like a target. And there we have a bowl. Yes, I think I get it.
Now, I thought, like, in the original version, this scene went on way too long. I like how the Xbox remake at least tried to speed it up a little bit. They had it where the difficulty kind of rises up a little bit with each, phase during this, because you're supposed to, like, hit that cow that comes out. Like, you have to hit it while it's eating the grass, and you have to hit it while it's taking a crap, and so, they had it where, in this version, you had, like, after each, cow you eliminate, you have to then, hit the cow, like, an extra time with each round. So, like, the first round, you have to hit it once. In the second round, you have to hit it twice. The third round, you have to hit it 3 times. So, it gets really annoying with how boring this part gets. And so, in the Xbox remake, they just had it where you just have to hit the cow once for each round. But, you know, maybe this scene wouldn't have been so... Found it funny how Conker got hit during that cutscene, but...
A cow. Now that could be
maybe this part wouldn't have been so bad if you just had to eliminate one cow. But regardless, though, this scene still is really stupid. It's just, shocking, gross-out humor for the sake of it, and It's just a little bit brutal for no reason.
Have a little bit of grass. Moo.
Like, I don't get why Conker has to kill the cow, per se.
You could
It
go
just
over
makes
there
no
somehow.
sense. Luckily for your convenience, though, I'm not going to bother showing the entire sequence. I will speed things up, but I'm at least going to show what it looks like to do it originally.
Stop your nonsense, young man. Goodness me. I've quite lost my appetite now. I'm gonna go for a little meander over here. Actually, I feel a bit thirsty. A nice little beverage should wash this tasty grass down lovely like. This looks quite nice. Looks to be cranberry flavoured. Lovely. Ooh. Tastes a bit hot. Oh, well, have some more. Ooh, moo! Ooh! Oh! Ooh, it's like the screaming shitsies! I'm out of here!
Just what were the designers of this game thinking? Ugh.
Oh, I say! This is far from dignified. Oh, I hope Mavis and Olive don't see this. They'll never hear the end of it. Oh, that's a bit... Oh, hey, it's a bit of a... Oh, that's... I'll just stay here for a while, just in case.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to,
Looks like he's
you know,
getting out
sound
ready to
serious when you try recommending this game when you have parts like this existing, but... I mean, this game isn't perfect, but it's still memorable for other reasons. This is not one of them, unfortunately. This is memorable for all the wrong reasons. So yeah, let's speed things up a bit, because this part gets really obnoxious. In fact, even sped up, this is still obnoxious.
Why am I such a fat bastard?
Seems to be filled up with poo. That should do it.
And then for some reason, the only logical thing for Conker to do is jump into it. Okay. Yeah, writing is not this game's strongest point. Nor is progression. Ugh. One problem I have with the N64 version is, the scenery does not stand out as well compared to the Xbox remake when it comes to, like, finding out where to go next. So, like, the colors just blend in too well. And so sometimes it's hard to tell, like, when there's a hole in the wall. Or I like how the Xbox version made it a little more noticeable for things like that.
Yeah. Hey, I feel a lot more confident. Yeah. Won't need these anymore.
So I just have to question, why didn't Conker do this earlier in the game? There were plenty of water sequences, yet only now when he's surrounded by a bunch of diarrhea does he decide to finally take pills to allow him to swim.
And that should submerge me. Then, once I'm underwater, hold down B to make me swim. Point the control stick in the direction you want to go. That's it. Are you sure you got that?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the Xbox remake actually skipped that instructional point, teaching you how to swim. I mean, you can still activate it by pressing the little button sequences that activate the cutscenes, Like, if I'm not mistaken, the original you had to press L trigger and B to activate it. I'm not sure how it was in the original N64 version per se, but I know for the Rare Replay N64 version, you had to press the snapshot button and the B button at the same time.
Yeah, more spondoolies.
I don't get why they didn't just make it... Yeah, I think it was the L button in the original N64 actually, but... Now, you don't necessarily have to do this stuff now, but I think it helps in the long run, so... I'm just gonna get done with all, like, the poo rolling sequences.
You're welcome to it, mate. Yeah.
I mean, mostly you just gotta do one at the moment, where you gotta, activate, like, a switch that shuts off the whirlpool, but... So, I wanted to see how far you could take the poo ball outside of it, and unfortunately you can't, but... There was one case on the Xbox version where I somehow got past that without it breaking, and I don't know how that happened, but I have not been able to do that again ever since, but... I was able to take it as far as, the wasp hive, like, I tried, leaving it in front of, the hole where the giant maggot is, but then the maggot popped out and attacked me, and... So yeah, in the original version, this was actually supposed to be giant balls of snow you were rolling around, but of course, M-rated remake, they had a, well, M-rated reboot, they had to try making it a little filthier. Now, I especially feel sorry for Conker during this part in the Xbox remake, because in the original game, he had gloves. In the remake, they redesigned him to no longer have gloves, so, I feel more sorry for Conker during those parts. Yeah, I noticed they have, like, little fish during this part. In the remake, they got rid of the fish for some reason. Yeah, I almost forgot the green imps still were in the N64 version, because, you know, they added a lot of NPCs, like, enemies you could fight in the Xbox remake, and, they pretty much were all just, those green imp guys, and so a lot of people point out how, like, hey, wait a minute, those enemies weren't in the original, but it's like, yeah, there still were parts in the original where they were there, they were just, more like obstacles, not enemies you actually gotta fight.
Hey, where the f you been, you ginger bastard?
So in the Xbox remake, they have two different kinds. They have the ones that, like, know how to fight back really well, like ones that you cannot attack by normal means, and then there are the ones that you can take out with your baseball bat. So it looks like you can dive underwater during this part. If I'm not mistaken, the Xbox remake, you could not dive underwater even after getting those pills for some reason, but... Okay, let's get this annoying garbage over with. Rolling these balls of poo. I always hated these parts. There's pretty much two paths you can take. There's the high road and the low road. That always confused me as a kid. I didn't realize that, like, both of them would lead to different paths. So it took me quite a bit longer to, like, get to the Great Mighty Pooh's lair at a later point in the game. But... So, you first gotta roll it up this one, though, because, in order to take the lower path, you gotta take out a certain, dung beetle that's sleeping and blocking your path. This part wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for these annoying dung beetles. Sometimes they can accidentally knock over, your poo ball, like that, for instance. But don't worry, I sped things up, so you didn't have to watch me go through all that again. God, I can't imagine, like, someone at the development team like probably said like, hey, remember those like spiral mountains in both Mario 64 with Bob on Battlefield and Spiral Mountain from Banjo-Kazooie? Remember how iconic those landmarks were in those games? How unique it was how you could run up like a 360-degree mountain. Now, imagine if we made that a little more frustrating by turning it into basically an escort mission where you had to push giant balls of poo. Wouldn't that be fun? What's funny though, like, some people argue, like, which versions of the music in this game is better. Like, most people seem to say they like the N64 version a lot better. And for some cases I can agree. Like, for instance, I thought, like, in the original, I thought the theme for both, the main menu and, Windy sounded a lot better. But as for, the Pooh Lodge here, I actually do think, the music here sounds a lot better in the remake. It just kind of has, like, I like how it sounds more like a live, jazz, like, performance. Where this one, it doesn't sound quite as catchy. Like, the remake tried using more of, like, live instrument sounds, where the original, it was, you know, basically, like, the sound format that N64 was compatible with. So, lower res, but, the problem is that, like, although some of the music in the original is lower res, they just have, like, more of a beat to it. Like, I thought Windy, I liked how wackier it sounded in the original. And the remake, while it doesn't sound bad, it's just not as catchy, because, the music doesn't sound as, like, it just sounds a little slower, I guess. It doesn't sound as loud, and, I don't know, there's just something about it where it just sounds a little more mute in comparison. So, you're supposed to push that poo ball down into that mountain, but if you want, you can get this little optional, lot of cash. Now, it's possible to beat this game without collecting this little guy here, but, it's like, while you're up here with that giant poo ball, you might as well get it while you can. I'll admit, like, when I first played through this game, I missed that one entirely. I had no idea how to get it, but eventually, when I did a replay, like, I started a new save file, and I then, you know, just decided, when I rolled up the poo ball, it's like, wait a minute, there's a little cash ball. I wonder if I can hop on that, and it's like, oh, I can, cool. It's finally over, it's finally over. Ugh, man, these parts are so annoying. And surprisingly, you can't go down that hole. Okay. So I gotta take the long way to get back down. Okay, now on to the Bat Tower chapter. A part I feel mixed about. Literal catfish.
Woohoo! Squirrel person, are you begging for food? Meow. What? Well, you look like you could do with a little extra, my boy. And we thought you might actually be interested in earning some cash. Meow. You're offering me cash. Okay. What's the catch? Well, there's this awful brute swimming around. He's terrible, and he's stolen our valuable belongings. We need somebody disposable to go in and, well, get rid of him. Me, you mean? Well, you can't expect one of us to go, can he, ladies? We're blue-blooded, don't you know? Well, ask this to you, then. I know what's up myself. Dear, what language?
Don't worry, dear. He's as common as milk. Common as dirt like that. It's dreadful, isn't it?
Let me handle it, dear. Listen, here, you. Listen to me. We'll give you 10%.
Spoiler alert, they only have $10. His 10% is only $1.
But one thing to remember. Shh, come closer. He's easily wound up. Yes. Oh, and by the way, the site has a combination.
One thing I find strange is how in the remake they decided to make all the catfish look exactly the same. And I don't get that. I like how in the N64 version, the main one who talks, she's obviously like the leader of them, so she has like those yellow glasses to make her look more important. And so in the Xbox remake, all of them have those pair of glasses, which I thought was a pretty strange move. I don't get why they did that. So in this version, they have like dandelions, and if you run through them, they'll actually break apart like real life dandelions. Well, not as detailed, but I mean, they could have done a little better with the effect there, but it's still kind of cool how you can only find that in this version. In the remake, though, there are more like hidden objects in this area, though. You'll see more plant life. You'll actually find one of Conkers' army helmets underwater. Like if you go towards the dock, you'll find one of his N64 army helmets. However, this version does have another visual difference that the Xbox remake does not have, and that's the dragonflies right here. For some reason, they got rid of them in the remake, kind of like the butterflies in Windy, but I'm impressed though. Like usually, like when you saw like bugs in old N64 games, they always looked really flat, kind of like the bumblebees in this game. And so, although they're semi-flat here, but they still have some kind of 3D depth to them, which is quite impressive. They're not entirely flat; they're 3D flat in a way, and it's kind of cool how they did that. There are some like bug characters in old video games that they did not bother animating very well, so it's kind of cool to see how those look more animated. One thing I find funny about the dog shark is how in the remake they place a little detail that is easy to miss. Like it's especially easier to find if you pause frame through like recordings of the game, but inside the dog shark's mouth is a license plate that says "Bite me." I am not kidding. Oh boy, the tower. I hate this part. I both love it and hate it. I hate it for the gameplay, but love it for the cutscenes.
Why is it everybody so offensive around here?
Either bring me back me missing cogs. Oh,
You don't have to shout.
I'm deaf. Speak up.
I do like the music in the remake a lot better during this part.
Well, hello there. And aren't you the handsome one? Tell me, would you be prepared to do me a small favor?
I like how when he flips them over, their cigarette changes.
And, yes, I would.
It's like the angry one had a cigar, and then the
South has lost a few of his,
so-called gay one, I suppose is what you'd call him, has a fancier-looking cigarette holder.
It is.
And?
Just get them back. There's a good fellow. Ta-ta, ta-ta.
You swat! Don't ever do that again! Now f off!
I remember a lot of people hated the Cogs redesign and the Xbox. They said he wasn't very expressive. I still liked it regardless, though. Like he definitely looks angrier in this one, but his facial expressions look a little stiffer, though. Like they're not as fluid as they are in the Xbox remake. Now, I actually like this part a lot better in the Xbox remake, because on the N64 version it has a fixed camera angle, which really makes it frustrating during a few parts. Like in the Xbox remake, it's actually easier to skip this part if you rotate the camera to where Conker can hover over to one of the ropes that you're supposed to climb up on the other end. I swear, it's like this game is programmed to have you die here, because no matter how many times I restart this game, I always get my first death during this part. The controls are just very unresponsive during this part where you're supposed to pull out the flamethrower and hit the bats. I mean, it was more responsive like in the Barn Boys chapter, but here it's just very delayed. You just can't get it at the right time. It's like the programmers really want you to die during this part. I do like the details of climbing up the rope, though. It's very detailed for an N64 game. The way it wobbles around. And... Yeah, they got rid of that, like, imploding animation and, well, not exploding animation in the remake. Conker doesn't split up. He just splats like Roadkill, but, they don't have him, like, break apart in many pieces with his heart sticking out. Now, this is what I think is the funniest cutscene in the game.
Conker! Yes, you, boy. You're dead. You are dead. Deader than I.
Can't be asked for this bloody ridiculous contraption. Whose idea was this anyway? Right. Hello. My name's Greg, the Grim Reaper. Don't laugh.
Aren't you a little short to be a Grim Reaper?
Well, how many Grim Reapers have you met before, mate? What am I supposed to look like?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well made.
Now, let's see. Ah, yes. Conker. Surname?
The squirrel.
The squirrel. The... Oh, bloody hell, you would have to be a sodding squirrel, wouldn't you?
Why, is there a problem with that?
Well, yes, there is, actually. It's like those bloody cats. Such a pain in the ass. You're one of these special cases.
Oh, really?
Yes. Apparently, according to the powers that be, I'm just doing my job. I do what I'm told. Don't even get paid very much. Apparently, squirrels can have as many lives as they think they can get away with.
Oh, I see. So I'm not dead.
You're dead, but not quite.
Right. Well, I'll be off then.
Just you wait, smart ass. Don't get out of it that easily. Now, the thing is, you may not be dead, but that doesn't mean you can't die. You just have a few more, shall we say, chances. Yeah. Like cats. I hate those things. Right. Distributed around your little world are these tail things. Squirrel's tails. If you can get them, I'll give you an extra chance. Understand?
Well, sounds a bit strange, but okay.
I never noticed that, how Greg's speech bubbles are gray, where
Right, that's it. Piss off.
instead of
I've
white.
got some
It's
cats
kind of
to
different.
see. Bloody things. I hate those bloody cats. The way they meow and they piss everywhere. And their shit smells just bloody awful. All over my...
No, I really do like how they redid this area in the remake. It's very empty here in the N64 version. The remake, they have a bunch of tombstones with funny messages on them. You have to like cross like this giant corridor to get to the tail, the one-up life. And there's also like a few skeleton hands like hanging on the walls that are flipping you off. Like in this one, they have skeleton hands that are holding skulls for torches, but it's funny how in the remake they're just flipping you off. And it's a shame that that's an area you cannot go back to. It's too bad we never got the sequel, because in the sequel, Hell was supposed to be an actual, like, kind of like the hub area of the game in a way, because Conker was supposed to be trapped down there, and he was supposed to try to escape, and so Hell would have been more of a level. I think they said they were supposed to call it the Underwear, is what they were going to call it in the sequel. Or wait, no, I'm sorry, Underwear, that was Super Paper Mario. They're going to call it the basement, actually, in Conker 2, but think about it, it should have been called the Underwear. That would have made more sense for a game like this than Paper Mario. Thank God they do not give you time limits during this segment, because there's nothing I hate more in video games than when you have to cross, like, narrow platforms or walkways under a time limit. Those are the worst. Especially when you can't adjust the camera angles, either. I always like the scenery during this part. I just hate how you can't, like, look at it in, a better camera view. I like how in the Xbox remake it does allow you to manipulate the camera while you're up here. The problem is that there's not as much to see. Like, they tried making everything a little more realistically sized, I guess, in the remake, so they tried making everything look like it's far out in the distance, so it doesn't appear as large and, lively as it does in this version. I mean, for an N64 game, though, this is still very impressive. A lot of, you know, detailed artwork in the background.
Hey, I'm here. Hurry up. Pick me up, shithead.
And one thing I never bothered doing when originally playing this game was seeing what would happen if you jumped off the tower from the side. I always figured you would have died, but it turns out it's a shortcut to get back to the bottom of the tower, and so that makes things a lot easier in the long run. Well, that's all I have to show for now. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.